Hi. So today's problem is top k frequent elements. So let's first understand what this problem means. What is the question? So we are given an input array with numbers. So we have one repeating thrice, two thrice, and five ones. So we have to find the top k frequent elements. K is two over here in this example. So the most sec like the first frequent element and the second frequent element must be printed. So in this case, I have one repeating thrice, which is the highest frequency. So one is my answer, and two repeating thrice. So the top two frequent elements are one and two. Now, if the question were three frequent elements, top three frequent elements, then it can be one, two, and five. Because after one and two, the most frequently repeating element is five. So how would we solve this problem? So usually, ideally, we have the concept of a hash map wherein we write the frequency of each element. So 1 repeats thrice, 2 repeats 3 times, and 5 repeats 1. But today we'll be doing a bit differently. We will use something called a bucket sort. So what is a bucket sort? Let me just show you. So the idea behind a bucket sort is, imagine a bucket, and this is your index, and this is your the count, actual count. So what we'll be having is, we will write the index would be the frequency. In a hash map, it is the opposite. The index is not the frequency, index is the number. So in a hash map, I'll just compare a hash map and this bucket sort. In a hash map, if I'm writing one repeats three times, two repeats three times. This is how a hash map generally works. But in the case of but in the case of a bucket sort, each number frequency is stored in the index. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can only have 7 because if an element is repeating all throughout, then that is a maximum we can have. So in this case, we know that elements repeating thrice, this is nothing but the frequency. So this is your frequency and this is your element. So the number repeating thrice is 1 and 2. The number repeating one time is just 5. So this is a concept behind a bucket sort. So what we aim to do is, after mapping these numbers to a bucket sort, we would just print the elements of a bucket sort from right to left. Let us write it down. From right to left. So I'll take another example over here for you to understand. So imagine if our input were 3, 3, 3 and 5, 5. So over here, so 3, 3, 3, 5 and 5. Our bucket sort would have, first let's see what is the count of this, what is the size of this input array. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if an element 3, let's say, is repeating 5 times, so 5 is the maximum we'll have. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So in this case, I'll just write down the indexes 0. I'll just go from, yeah, okay. I'll just go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this case, we know that this bucket sort has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the size. Now, as I said, this index nothing represents the frequency. Index represents a frequency. Now, 3 is repeating 3 times, 5 is repeating 2 times. So at index 3, that means at frequency 3 we have 3. Now 5 is repeating 2 times, so at frequency 2, at index 2 we have 5. Now just think about it. If you want to output the like the first most frequent element or second most frequent element, you can just print from right to left. So right to left will have, I can print 3, then I can print 5. That's it. It's that simple. So this is the idea behind this sum. Now we'll put it to code. I'll just erase this. Over here, first step would be to actually identify what the frequency of elements are. So I'll have an unordered map of int. Yep, unordered map of int. Now what we want is, ideally we want to map this, we want to create this, saying that for 1 we have 3, for 2 it's repeating thrice. So with the same example, I'll just use a simple for loop. Now in n in your nums, so this is your nums array. Now for int and nums, what we'll be doing is mpp of your n plus plus. So what happens here, I'll just erase this over here. So what happens is very simple. You have unordered map mpp. Now mpp of n plus plus. So mpp of 1 will be plus plus. So 1 as repeated once. Then again for the next element mpp of 1. So again it's now plus plus. So it's 2. Then it's 3. So we have 3 finally. Now for the second one, it repeats 3 times. For the third one, it repeats once. This is happening in this particular piece of code. We are just mapping it to an unordered map. Now at this point, we need to create a bucket. So what will a bucket have? If you look into this closely, at frequency 3, we have 2 elements. So if you're creating a bucket, it will be a bucket where it's a vector of vector int, because in here you can have 1. So basically at the index 3 you have 2 answers, answers at the index 3. So that's an array, you have a set of elements. So you will be initializing your vector of vector int and bucket. Now the size of the bucket, as I told, it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Now we will be having 7 plus 1 to account for the 0th index. So you will have nums.size plus 1. Now it's very simple. You will utilize this particular hash array to map it to this bucket. Let's see how we do that. So I'm iterating through this map mpp. So you'll have for an auto iterator to mpp. Now what is my it in the first iteration? It is 1, then it is 2, then it is 5. So it goes like that. So your, I'll just do it over here. Now what is our number? Number is nothing but it dot first. If you see here, the number is the first and the frequency is second. So you need to map it to this bucket kind of thing. So let's first access it. To access our number, it's mpp dot first. Access our frequency, it's mpp dot second. So it dot first and the frequency is it dot second over here. Now what you'd be doing is, you have created an empty bucket. So bucket of your frequency. So bucket of your frequency. So as we know here, this is our bucket. This is our bucket of frequency, meaning to that index. To that I will append 1 and 2. So bucket of frequency dot pushback your num. So what happens here, we'll see. So I have an empty bucket, now bucket of frequency. The frequency is here 3. So at third frequency you will push back your num. So num is 1. So I've pushed my 1 here. Now for the second iteration, you have third frequency. I'll push back my num. So I'll push back 2 again here. So this is the idea. Now at this point we have gotten our bucket. So our bucket kind of looks like this. Let me just draw it here. have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and how much more? 6 and 7. So now bucket of frequency. So for this, for the third frequency, I have 1. Now again for the third frequency, I have 2. I'm pushing back these two. For the first frequency, I have 5. Now I need to output the k most frequent elements. K is given as 2 here. So if you meant ideally see here from right, if I'm outputting the k most frequent elements, of course I know 1 and 2 are repeating 3 times. So that is the k most frequent elements over here. So over here, it's very simple. Let's, we need to output in this format 1 and 2. So I'll just write it down, my answer array, vector int answer. So my answer will have, so I have a bucket like this. I already have a bucket. I just need to iterate it from right to left and output the elements. So how to iterate it from right to left? Let's create a for loop. Now for your integer I is equal to, let's start from right. So bucket dot size minus 1 to start from here. So we have int I is equal to bucket dot size minus 1, and you will go until I is greater than or equal to 0 and I minus minus. Cool. Now what you'd be doing is, at, let's imagine you're coming from the right. So first you would reach here because all these are empty. You would reach here. You would reach at index 3. At index 3, you need to output all the elements there. So be like, now for int c, at where? At bucket of I. For integer c at bucket of I. At bucket of I, which is at bucket of 3, you have 2 elements. So c will hold for 1 first and then it will hold 2. So let's just push back. Answer dot pushback your c. Answer dot pushback c. Now it is pushed back 1 and it has pushed back 2. At this point, we need to check. We need to check if the answer array size equals k or not, because we just need to put 2 most frequent elements. You can stop right there if you're done. So I'll just have a check here. If, let's say, if my answer dot size is k, my answer dot size is k at this point, I'll just return my answer. That's it. Done and dusted. Okay, thank you. Follow for more. Bye.